This week on the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast.
This is another underrated Stephen King movie. It had a decent storyline and an okay cast. An okay cast.
When you said what the budget was, I was like, no, it can't be. No, it can't be. Because that trailer is not $10 million.
No. Stephen King heavily disliked the film and named it one of his least favorite adaptations. No stunt rats.
No.
They look like they were just shot.
I
right
didn't
to
even
the-
think about that. Oh, those poor rats.
Ah, fuck them. Like, I must say, Mr. Warwick takes his managerial responsibilities very seriously.
For reals. And I still don't know where on the monster's body that thing was.
No, could have been his penis for all I knew.
True story. True story.
If you're listening to this and you think we're just fucking confused, it's because we are fucking confused.
None of it fucking made sense.
No.
There was no rhyme or reason, no logic to how the second half of this movie progressed.
Lights, camera, and action. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Remember those childhood movies you loved? We're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Let's get ready to join Anna and Jimmy as they go back and watch those movies you remember being oh so awesomely good. Horror movies that scared. Comedy movies that dared. And action movies so preposterously ludicrous that they defied the laws of common sense. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
Okay, so let's talk about Graveyard Shift. What do you remember of this movie?
Okay, so I remember I literally have only watched it maybe once or twice, and both of those times were in the 90s, but more in the later 90s. I remember watching it on cable, and I vaguely remember just thinking horror B movie. It was on late at night. It was just something I watched because I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning. But like cheesy horror B movie, which we all know I love. That's what I remember.
Yeah, I kind of the same thing. I actually did rent this, and it was the cover of the would it have been VHS? It probably would have.
Yeah, actually in 1990, I think it was VHS.
Yeah, and yeah, same thing, just horror. And I was at that age where it wouldn't have been 1990 when I saw this. It would have been probably a year or two later, but it would have been the cover that sold me, and I was getting into horror, or even more into horror. But I remember, yeah, it being just a B horror movie and gory.
Yeah. I remember a lot of like it wasn't a smooth movie. Like it wasn't something where you could clearly tell it was almost like a creature flick and I don't know how to put this. Cuz I mean, it had a really decent budget. Like it was for that time and this kind of movie, it had a great budget.
Yeah,
But
10 million.
it feels super low budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Well, this is where, yeah, and before I started getting all this stuff ready, creature feature. That's exactly what I remembered.
yeah.
So this is where it starts to get interesting.
Oh jeez.
It has a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, 7 critics, 5,000 audience reviews, ratings at 23.
Oh my.
Now remember, Leprechaun had 27 or something like that from critics and 32 from audiences. So, and there was no critic consensus. There was nothing.
No.
Some of the fresh is I don't know why this film gets so many haters. Well, first of all, before I read it, I couldn't find there was no good reviews. This is from audience members that liked it.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know why this film gets so many haters. It is a gory, suspenseful, atmospheric exploitation horror film with an amazing set and wonderfully over the top theatrical performances.
Mm,
I
cheesy
have
B movie.
Yeah, I have seen this movie 3 times and liked it each time. It kind of has that Stephen King comic book edge to it, but works. Not sure what that meant. The fuck do you mean a comic book edge? Oh, maybe, yeah, okay.
Didn't he
Like,
do like kind of graphic novels ish?
well, no, but he did do Creep Show and Creep
Oh
Show
yeah.
2, which was, yeah. This is another underrated Stephen King movie. It had a decent storyline and an okay cast. Oh, the okay cast. Oh.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then I enjoyed it when I was a kid, was one. It was
Mm,
cheesy, but still entertainment, due some overtop gore and hilarious performance, and beautifully putrid schlock.
music to my ears.
The Rotten.
Oh Lord.
This was from critics. I honestly believe that I'm the only person in the world that didn't hate this movie. And this was a bad review, but not as bad as some of the other ones. But
That line seems pretty nice.
one of the worst of Stephen King movies. Don't punch in for this mess. I can easily recommend Graveyard Shift, but only to adolescent boys who are just now discovering the joys of gooey, sloppy gore flicks. And that was it for critics.
That's
So I
super encouraging.
went over to IMDb. 12,000 users. It's got a 4.9. IMDb is more along, seems to be more along our,
Yeah.
yeah. So some positives. Good and underrated chiller. Silly but enjoyable little flick. The mutant rat movie to end all mutant rat movies. Rats, rats, rats. I totally fucking forgot this movie's about rats and a lot of them. And as we know, filming here in my studio, my
Yeah.
fear of fucking
Um, I
I
forgot
did,
about the rats too.
yeah, I just thought it was a big mutant bat or rat or something at the end.
Hmm.
And some of the bad ones, IMD, Stephen King adaptation at its worst, a
Mm,
steaming pile of celluloid excrement,
mhm.
bad, very bad.
Oh, that's good.
I love Stephen King books, but I've never seen a more forgettable horror flick.
Interesting. I mean, I think if we go in not with low expectations, but with the correct expectations.
Well, this is now my bar set really low. I mean,
Well, my bar was always kind of set low because I was
yeah,
like, I remember it being kind of cheesy B horror movie, and I was like, perfect. So if you go in expecting that and then you rate from there, I think you're good to go.
yes, yeah, because
However,
yeah,
if you go in expecting really good movies, you're screwed.
yes. So we will some graveyard shift stuff. Tom Savini was attached to direct the film in the late 1980s, but pulled out due to lack of studio interest.
Interesting.
The producers were afraid that the rats would not be terrifying enough. I don't know how that's possible. So the talents of a top voiceover artist were added to the soundtrack, I guess, to make rat
Make rat
sounds.
sounds?
I guess so. Stephen King heavily disliked the film and named it one of his least favorite adaptations, calling it a quick exploitation picture.
Okay. Thanks, Steven.
The first cut of the movie got an X rating due to all the violence and gore, so it had to be cut down for R rating, but it's not known what exactly was cut.
That's concerning.
Ralph Singleton, I went to try to find out like all the different movies that he might have directed.
Mhm.
He directed 2 episodes of Cagney and Lacey. He produced all of them,
It's an incredible
but
show.
directed 2, and he then directed Graveyard Shift. That's it. That's all he did. But he is a producer,
Yes.
and on Pet Cemetery,
Mhm.
Harlem Nights, Another 48 Hours, Pet Cemetery 2, Leap of Faith, Clear and Present Danger, Last Man Standing, Murder at 1600, and what I remember being a horrifying movie, Supernova. he was either an associate, executive, or actual producer on.
Good for Ralph.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. So, yeah, let's take a look at the poster. I like the poster.
I like the poster too.
Yeah.
It
Eh,
feels very, I don't know how to, amusement park ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And for people that are listening, it is a skeleton with an eyeball and teeth with a hard hat and the light on the front. And that's about it. Just the light is shining and it's Stephen King's Graveyard Shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did. And then that is kind of the one I remember.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go to Tale of the Tapes. It is a 1990 horror film. It is rated R for language, violence, and gore.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes in at a 1 hour and 27 minutes.
Okay, respectable.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems about, if it's, for
Yeah.
a B horror movie, yeah, that's a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Taglines.
Oh, I'm ready.
Stephen King took you to the edge with The Shining and Pet Sematary. This time he pushes you over. Good benefits, early retirement.
That's actually a really good tagline.
Yeah. The synopsis.
Yeah.
John Hall, David Andrews, is a drifter who wanders into a small town in Maine. He needs a job and decides to seek employment at the community's top business, a large textile mill. He is hired to work the graveyard shift from around midnight to dawn. I have to explain that. And along with a few others, he is charged with cleaning out the basement. This task strikes the workers as simple enough, but then as they proceed deeper underground, they encounter an unspeakable monstrosity intent on devouring them all.
Mm-hmm.
So, other than the reviews, I still remember. I remember Brad Dourif, and I remember there's a couple other people in it that
Mm-hmm.
I like, and I don't know. Well, let us watch the trailer and see.
Stephen King invites you to venture deep inside the caverns below the old Bachman Mill,
You're not thinking about going down in there.
where a secret lies long forgotten by any living soul.
Just ain't no job worth this.
The workers suspected.
You can't put me down there. You can't put anybody down there. I know things.
The owner denies it,
What did happen to the fellow that started this job?
It didn't work out.
and everyone fears it.
This place is infested. That might be the understatement of the year.
It's broken? Because one by one, it will devour them all.
We're like shrimp in an all-you-can-eat salad bar, and that thing ain't stopping till it's full.
Must be some other way out of here.
It's blocked!
This isn't real.
This is the new horror from the mind of Stephen King. Graveyard Shift. Good benefits, early retirement.
Yeah.
So, what do we think? What'd they use $10 million for?
Honestly, that's when you said what the budget was, I was like, no, it can't be. No, it can't be. Because that trailer is not $10 million.
No.
It's maybe 3-4 million, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe 10 million.
So
Unless they cut out all the parts that make it look like 10 million.
yeah, maybe they didn't show that part.
Mm,
Someone's telling me that's not true.
the one scene, but there are a lot of familiar faces in there,
Yes.
which is great.
Yep. Yeah, I did recognize a lot of actors, which does help. Doesn't look
really
like a
does.
$10 million movie. It does, but that doesn't. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of watch it and you're like, okay, if you watch the trailer, you're like, okay, I'm not expecting much, and you shouldn't for any horror movie, really, except
No.
for the really artsy ones. But still, that looks. I remember liking it. I'm gonna say that I remember liking it, and I'm really hoping I can still like it.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it.
Mhm.
Just the rats alone are enough to. Ugh.
I that'll creep me out. That'll definitely creep me out. My question is how many times am I gonna roll my eyes? So, because I feel like it's one of those movies that's gonna make you roll your eyes and be like, "Oh god, really?" I'm gonna
Yeah.
see. I'm fingers crossed it doesn't make me roll my eyes, but we'll see how I feel after we watch it.
All right. I'm still looking forward to watching the movie.
No, me too.
Even a
Me
bad
too.
horror movie is a good horror movie.
This is very true.
As long
Like,
as it's not
even
Leprechaun bad.
d Leprechaun Bag was okay, that one was still kind of entertaining, but not. That
Yeah.
one it bored me because I was like, "Oh god, yeah, sure, fine." But I'm trying to remember, did I wanna turn it off? I kept getting distracted during it, I think.
Yeah, I got distracted too.
Yeah. So it wasn't even like I was just watching it and being like, "It's fine."
Yeah. Oh, we'll see.
Alright, let's go watch this movie.
You heard them. Movie time. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a treat, and then watch a classic kick-ass movie from whenever the one we're about to watch was made.
And now, on with the show.
All right. So I am not in my local Blockbuster. I'm in my screening room.
Mm,
I wish.
it's very fancy.
I watch Graveyard Shift. You watch Graveyard Shift?
Oh boy, did I watch Graveyard Shift.
All right. Okay. My initial thoughts, I thought this was a great midnight B horror movie right up until the 1 hour mark. And then it took a bizarre turn into unrelenting stupidity, even for a B horror film. Stupid.
Dude, my general thought for the entire movie was, "The fuck?" Like, it was I was like, "Okay, I see where you're setting it up. I see where you're setting it up." And then I was like, "This what? Huh? That's a choice. Okay. What? Um, no." That was
Yeah.
it. That's
Yeah.
my entire thought process.
Like the beginning, I gave into the okay, it's an exploitation film.
100%.
It's a B horror movie.
Yep.
The acting is ridiculous on
So over the
purpose
top.
or seemed over on purpose.
Well, they're all really great actors, so I'm like, "I know you
Yeah.
can act.
Yeah.
I know you can do this." This was a choice.
So I'm like, okay, I'll buy. And then, like I said, it hit that hour mark. I will get into exactly where for me, and then it just went like right off the rails, like right off the rails. Like it's just
Yeah.
really dumb, really bad.
It went so far off the and it's so funny because in the beginning, I was like, "Okay, cotton mill, cool."
Yeah,
Before everything was, like, automated, awesome. Guy dies, creepy guy, creepy basement, creepy rats. I'm like, "I'm down." Like, I'm getting the ick factor. I'm like, "This is good." And then Warwick, who's played by Stephen Mocht? I think that's his
Mock,
name.
he's been in so
Stephen
many
Mocht.
things.
So many things. Everybody knows him. I know he's a good actor. He starts talking. I'm like, "What fucking accent is that?"
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, I
I
know
don't
what
know.
accent he was trying to do.
Was it a New England accent?
A New England Maine accent. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what he's trying.
like up there, but I was
Yeah,
like, I feel like maybe
it was a
because
great one.
no, it was terrible. I was like, "Is he British?" And then, no, he's not British.
No,
But is it and eventually he said something and I was like, "Is this supposed to be a New England accent?"
Yeah, because he nailed it at some point, like little
There
parts
were
of the
certain
yeah,
phrases
where
that
he nailed it.
it
Yeah,
super clear. I'm like, "You could have been on Murder, She Wrote," uh, like not Doc Hazlitt.
he
Who
was
was
on
the
Murder,
one that
She
had
Wrote
the one
6 times.
of course he was. But, the doctor, not the doc is was it the doctor? No, I'm trying to remember who had that incredible
The old guy that
Maine
always
accent. Yes, there was
visitor at
one
the
guy
end?
who just had a very, like, distinct Maine accent, and I was like, "You kinda sound like him," so that was where I clued in. I was like, "He's supposed to be doing," but for 3/4 of it, I was like, "What is this? I don't this is okay." All of the acting was over the top and excessive.
Yeah.
I never understood grown adults bullying other grown adults. Just
No,
I
no. I know what
especially
happens.
strangers. I'm like, at
Yeah,
least get to know them first before you start bullying. Like, make it make sense. But I was like, okay, we're setting up that this is not a friendly town. We're setting up that this is, there's something creepy going on at the mill.
yeah,
We're setting up that Warwick's a sleaze. Got it, no problem. And then it just started to degenerate. It was like, I don't know where we're going anymore.
yeah, no.
So
Well,
confused.
let's dive in, and the plot outlines that I found were just as bad as the movie. I swear to God, this one that I went over here
Yeah.
for the first hour of the movie, it's very detailed, and then it's like it's like, and then the bat ate them all, and that was it. I'm like, "What the fuck?"
But that was
So,
another thing. Like, I kept trying we'll get to it, but, like,
yeah,
the creature, it's the closest because 'cause I'm like, I
the
think you're
mutant
supposed to
bat
be a
rat.
it's a bat rat. Well,
Yeah,
technically, bats are rodents.
yeah,
Um, but I was like I was trying to picture it in my head because you never see it in its, like, full entirety.
no,
Like, there's never a full body shot.
no,
So you see bits and pieces, and then I tried to picture what it would look like in a full body shot, and I was like, "That don't make no goddamn sense."
no, no.
I was like, I anyways, let's go through this plot.
Alright. Widowed drifter John Hall is hired to work in a rat-infested textile mill by the oh, wait, hold on, this is the wrong one here.
That's
Okay.
it, you're
The
fired.
film opens with the late shift worker in the basement of a textile company that has him feeding bales of cotton into a large industrial machine. He takes a break and notices the thermometer on the wall indicates the temperature is over 100 degrees. In anger at the heat, the worker pounds his fist against a support beam and a rusty nail protruding from the beams and punctures his hand. He goes to the medical cabinet and gets antibacterial ointment and gauze for his wound. As rats accumulate to watch the late shift worker, he starts to taunt them and threaten them. Now, for someone like me who hates rodents, rodents in general, this was fucking gross.
Um,
Gross.
I do not like rats
Oh,
in general. Like, it's not my jam, right? But I was like, it didn't creep me out, it made me nauseous. When
the
you see
amount of them. Yeah.
it's the lineup of
Yeah.
rats. As they were doing that pan, I was like, "Oh god. Oh, oh, there's too many."
Good on the rat wrangler though for getting them to
Right?
be all there and just kind of they look like they were chilling out.
And kinda staring creepily at the guy, and
Yeah.
I was like, "That's some good wrangling," but
Now,
ew.
for anyone listening, if I hate I fucking detest them. But if you have a genuine fear, this is not the movie for
No.
you.
Do not watch this movie at
I've
all,
never
not even
seen
a little
more
bit.
rats so often than in this film. Like there
So
was
many.
so many rats.
And every
Um,
time you think you're free from the rats, more show up, and you're just
oh
like, "Oh god, ew." And nobody seems to, like, really care.
no, like the guy working just he
Yeah.
was like,
He's just
"Hey,
like, "Oh,
Dolores,"
hey."
and the
Yeah,
rat pisses on the chair, and I was like, "Oh."
I was just like, "Why are you so comfortable around them?"
My first okay, here, I did set this up, but my first 10 minutes on that shift, if I was hired, Yeah, and then I would have been running out the fucking door. There's no way. Like
I like how you
it
say
was.
first 10 minutes. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even be there for 10 minutes. I'd walk down, see the rats, be like, "Peace out, bitches. Not
Well,
doing
it
it."
looks like he was working, and then the rats showed up. So I figured I'd get about 10 minutes worth of work done.
You can hear when there are that many rats in a basement.
Remember we were talking about the voiceover guy when
Yeah.
the Dolores was on and it was making that sound? I
Yes.
couldn't get some guy at a microphone out of my head.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I don't care what the pay was. It'd be like, nope, no, 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 no,
No.
no,
Nope.
no, no. And just in case I wasn't clear, fuck no. Yeah, because yeah, it's so gross.
No, it was disgusting. It was actually disgusting. It made me so nauseous.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that
literally
whole
had to
line of
look
them.
it was the lineup
Yeah,
that,
it's
like, just
like
took me because I was feeling like, "Ick, ew, kinda gross, creepy, ew," and then they did the lineup and the pan across the lineup of rats, and I was like,
yeah,
"Oh god," and I started getting violently nauseous, and I was like,
yeah,
"I'm gonna puke."
because they weren't afraid. They were just
No,
like, oh, they were just like, what the fuck is this mook
they were
doing?
just hanging out. They
Yeah,
were
just
like,
hanging
"We're just
out.
gonna wait for him to fall asleep so we can eat his face."
Yeah, yeah, it was very unsettling.
Mhm.
Also the graveyard beside the mill, like that had to be some sort of health hazard. Those opening
Okay,
credits.
100% yes,
What
but
the fuck
also,
was that?
if there is a flooded graveyard,
Yeah,
there are floating caskets and floating bodies. I don't care where you're at. It is an absolute truth across the board, especially if it's that flooded.
yeah,
The water rises, it
yeah.
brings the bodies with it. So I thought that was very inauthentic. There should have been more bodies float around. And
So
there's my fact checking moment.
So the night worker, the mid graveyard shift where he tosses a rat into the large industrial machine, and we watch the rat being torn to pieces and blood staining the cotton.
Mhm.
As he continues to taunt, the rats watch on. A large shadow appears, and the worker turns to a sight that scares him. He stumbles backward into the industrial machine and is slaughtered. His remains are eaten by the rats. So if this scene couldn't be any more unsettling, watching the rats eat the human remains was gross.
Mhm.
I know it was fake. I know it's a movie. It was still fucking gross.
No, it's still gross. Like I know, like this is so weird. 'Cause when he threw the rats into, like, the big machine and it chewed them up, the blood kept showing up higher up, and I
Mhm.
was like, "You're doing that because you don't wanna deal with, like, little mini rats,
Yeah.
broken apart." I'm like, "I get it." Um, but they did the exact same thing for him where he went down into the machine, but the cotton directly underneath was white, and then the blood started
Oh,
showing up above it, and
above it, yeah.
I was like, "I appreciate the continuity, my friends, but that don't make no sense."
Um, yeah, but hats off to the actors. Like, and he's grabbing them by the live ones by the
Yeah.
tail, and like I would have read that script and called my agent, and be like, nope, no, 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 no. And in case I wasn't fucking clear, fuck no. That's where the budget went. Rat wranglers.
I honestly, I
There
could
had to
see
be
that,
hundreds of them.
but I mean, you can buy rats for pretty cheap. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but, like, you wanna keep track of them, you just want well, I guess if they
That's
just
the
run off, you
theory,
just buy a couple more for a couple
right?
bucks. I'm sure the town was really happy
Oh,
when
yeah,
they
with
left
the
with 2
increased
rats in a
rat
box.
population.
"Alright, we're outta here. Where'd all your fucking rats go, dude?"
I don't know.
"Mm."
Mhm. We only had 2.
Yeah, we only had 10,000,000, we couldn't afford a rat wrangler. Um, yeah, and, because remember when he was throwing stuff at them?
Yeah.
I think PETA would have been pissed
I think this entire movie would have made PETA very unhappy.
because
I'm
I
just
don't think they use stunt rats.
no, no, I don't think they use stunt rats either.
And I couldn't care less. I hate rats.
Well, rats are kinda gross.
Ugh, and they don't do nothing but spread disease.
This is very true. They do eat
Ugh.
garbage, though.
Yeah, they eat garbage. That's true.
They eat garbage.
Okay, the next day, an exterminator, Brad Dourif, crawled onto the roof of an industrial building dragging a fire hose. He stuffed the end of the water hose down into the ventilation pipe of some indoor plumbing. Behind the building is a stream running water. A man in the water is waiting by a pump motor for the exterminator to finish preparing the hoses. The exterminator indicates to the partner on the ground that he is ready to begin. The partner cranks the pump motor and begins pumping water into the building while sucking out water through the hoses in the basement of the building, bringing with it many rats and emptying them into the stream. Yeah, as soon as you saw those dark,
Yeah. No, I was like, "What? What
oh,
is?" And then they came out of the hose, and I was like, "Oh
again,
god.
no stunt rats.
No.
They look
Oh,
like they were just shot
I
right
didn't
out of
even
the
think about that. Oh, those poor rats."
ah, fuck them. Oh, can you imagine having a just having a
I would
picnic
not
on the
wanna work
stream
on
or
that
something?
set.
Oh
Not
no.
even a chance. Could you imagine?
Just yeah, have go walking your kids along the stream or having a picnic a couple miles where they're filming this movie and just
Yeah,
rats
no.
floating.
Oh god.
Ah. Now, might I add at this point, I'm into the movie. I'm grossed out. But so far so good. Um,
Mhm. Felt
yeah.
like a solid B movie so far.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fun."
A drifter named John Hall, David Andrews, who has been in tons of stuff, comes into a small town looking for work. The local textile company is the largest employer in town, so he applies there. So first, okay, he goes. This is yeah, he goes to the diner,
Mhm.
which doesn't scream cleaning code compliant.
No. Not at
Like
all.
they took greasy spoon, literally.
They really like, it looked like everything had a layer of grease on it,
Oh
which was super icky. Like, it's one of those that's a
yeah,
serial killer diner. That's the diner where you go into the small town and everybody's like, "Well, you can get the best apple pie there," and then you end up dead in someone's basement. That's exactly what it is.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And now he's going in. The two girls are coming out, and I don't want to
Yes.
say the hoary girl. It's become such a negative word when it should be applauded. Um,
The fuck? You're only a whore if you get paid for it.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah. Because I was going to say if women weren't promiscuous,
That
men never get laid.
is a profession.
Yes,
Also, we do not slut shame here. We
yes, no,
celebrate.
yeah, yeah. God forbid a female has urges just like a man. When
Mhm.
that's exactly what men are looking for, a female who wants to do what they want to do. It's so
Yeah. I'm
stupid.
like, "Live and let live, yo. Have all the sexy times you wanna have."
Exactly. Now what was I talking about? Right, the 2
I don't know.
female leads,
Yes.
Kelly Wolf and
Yeah,
Ilona Margolis,
that sounds
who,
right.
by the
Margulies?
way Margulies? Yeah.
Maybe?
Who, by the way, she didn't do a whole lot of movies.
Mhm.
But if you Google her, she's 54,
Yeah.
and oh my god, stunning,
Oh,
beyond
she looks
stunning.
fantastic.
Yeah. Because
Go
at first I'm like, I
ahead.
must be getting old because like these 40 and 50-year-old women are just looking like hotties now. So I might, but yeah, no, she
She's
looks,
like 55 now.
yeah. And I don't know if that picture was taken yesterday, but it was taken
No, but
within the realm
regardless.
of very recently.
Yeah, but she looks good. But, like,
Yeah.
not plastic surgery good,
No, no, no,
just I
no.
aged well good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, she didn't fuck with her face. Good for you, girl.
Yeah. No, and you could tell like maybe she had a little surgery. I don't know, nor do I care. But yeah, you could tell that there
She may
wasn't
have had some, like,
nothing major.
refreshers, but nothing major. I don't
No,
think
no,
anybody sliced into her face.
no. She just aged awesome.
I hope she drops the skincare routine. Damn, that's impressive.
Um,
Anyways, go ahead.
So she makes that comment about I'd like to have his boots under my bed, and then Jane Kelly Wolf, who has been in quite a few things, said if there were any more boots under your bed, that you'd have to open up a shoe store. So it
I
kind of
mean, valid.
sets. Yeah. John then goes in the diner and goes to the bulletin board and looks for work. The three other guys from the movie, great coincidence, harass him about being a Girl Scout.
Yes, because I mm, I'm like, "Why are you bullying a complete stranger?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's new in town? What
Yeah.
are you, 12?"
Didn't you see First Blood? You don't do that. He could be another John Rambo and you just fucked yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
The foreman, Warwick, Stephen, who's been in Stephen
Mocked.
Mack.
Because his son was the lead in Gabriel Mocked, in the lead in Suits, and he's done a bunch of other stuff too.
Oh.
Also an incredible actor. He's very, very good.
So he agrees to hire the drifter after first harassing him over being a drifter and having a
Mm.
college experience listed on his application on the condition that John accepts minimum wage for the first 4 weeks and works the 11 to 7 a.m. graveyard shift. Yeah, Stephen Match, he had a recurring character in Cagney Lacey for like 30 episodes or something. He was the dad in Monster Squad, one of my personal all-time favorite kid movies. He's appeared in every cop sci-fi show, like from
Mhm.
Murder She Wrote, Scarecrow, Mrs. King, Babylon 5, Deep Space Nine, Walker, like Sliders. He's been in everything. If
Yes,
you
and
could
I
look at his a resume.
No, and that's what I love about him. He really was, like, seriously a working actor.
Mhm.
Like, he was constantly getting work, and I
Yeah.
love that about him because everybody knows his face.
Yeah.
You may not know him or his name, and you may not be able to place him immediately, but you're like, "I know your face."
And then when we were doing our preview for this show, a lot of comments from reviews, like they did mention his weird accent, but like I said, he was trying to do a Maine accent, and he nailed it a couple times.
Yeah, but I'm like, I would have rather he just
Just
didn't.
didn't. No, but he was probably, and obviously watching this movie, the director didn't care.
I blame the director for a lot in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then also at this point, the secretary was running down the hall screaming as Brad Dorff was chasing behind her and stomps the shit out of that rat. I love Brad Dorff. I love like every
I
movie that
didn't
he's
realize how
in.
much he was in until I started, like, connecting it.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't just the Chucky voice.
Mm-mm.
He's done a lot. And yeah, I do like Brad Dorff. He's awesome. Okay. Warwick meets with the building inspector who threatens to condemn the building if the rat infestation isn't cleared up and the basement cleared of the massive amounts of old materials stored. Warwick pays off the inspector $200 cash to give him some time to get the building in order before filing his report. The inspector takes the money and gives Warwick until after the 4th of July holiday weekend to clean up the building. Also, around this time, Jane and John become friendly, with
Mhm.
her giving him a ride to the hardware store. I guess that's where John lives.
Yeah. He apparently found a furnished apartment there.
Yeah.
I think that's what one of the papers on the bulletin board at the diner said.
Yeah.
Remember when that was how you found jobs and places to live?
Yeah. Going to the local wherever
Yeah,
supermarket or diner
because
and
they
then check
posted,
the
like,
bulletin board. Yeah.
so crazy.
And that was a bit of a walk from the mill to the hardware store.
Yeah.
As Warwick sends random employees down to string lights in the basement prior to cleaning detail, one by one they get attacked and killed by some unknown creature that lurks in the basement. I think it's just the one guy that got killed.
I think so
One
too.
of the jerks from the diner, and always a tide of rats prelude the attacks. When the employees come up missing, the now hiring sign gets posted out front, but no more mention of the incident occurs. I did love how the movie did that. The secretary just puts
Yeah.
someone get killed, and the secretary puts the now hiring sign. But the guy hanging the lights, that scene of the rats coming down the stairs
Mhm.
and all over his ladder as he noticed them, and he has to get up higher because there's so many rats and they're trying to climb up the ladder. Oh, so gross. So gross.
Yeah, no, I had to look away. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm like, they're gonna eat your face. I can't.
Yeah. Like I had anxiety watching that part with
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, oh my God. I'd like to think in a fight or flight that I would fight, but no, I'd fly like a winged bitch, just start screaming and running until I was back at that hardware
But
store.
how are you gonna fight like hundreds of rats?
Exactly. That's why I would run screaming.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No. Just
Tell
that all the way to the fucking hardware
tell us
store.
how you really feel.
And can we agree that not only is the monster not a $10 million caliber, but neither are the deaths thus far.
No, they
No.
weren't they weren't overly creative. They're not overly jarring.
And you'd think with 10 million, you'd have a decent monster.
Well, I think they only bought pieces of the monster. I don't think they created an entire monster.
No,
They were
no,
just
you
like,
didn't
"So we need
see.
we need, like, a hook for this, and we need wings for this, and we
Yeah,
need, like, the blinky eye," and that was it, and then it's just I think that's also why, because at one point, it looks like almost like there's an incredibly long neck, but at another point, it looks like it's an incredibly long tail, and I'm like, "So
yeah.
does this thing have a tail?" I'm
Yeah, it looked like
confused.
yeah, it's yeah, and you never do see the whole thing,
Yeah.
like the whole part of it. But I will say this, I remember a lot of the review comments, and at this point, not addressing the $10 million elephant in the room, but this was so far at this point still a fine midnight movie, horror movie. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't award winning or anything, but it
No.
was one of those ones you remember as a kid staying up late to watch, like USA Network, KTLA, or TBS. I was still kind of having a blast watching how not great it was, but it's also somewhere in here before Stevenson dies hanging the lights, him dancing, who the guy who plays dancing, the guy with the face,
Yes.
who's also been in a crap load of movies and TV and
Yes.
usually a bad guy, and he's usually pretty good. And
Yes.
Brogan, who's also been in a crap load of stuff.
Okay, can we talk about how he was a little mentally unstable in this movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I was just about to say the rat burger. Sending the guy the rat
yeah.
burger. Yeah.
Well, not even the rat burger, but, like, in that basement with the hose, I was like,
Yeah.
"Sir, you've got a touch of the crazies."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a
no,
little.
there was something off about him. I was like, "Are you gonna end up being the killer?" Because I remember being a weird creature, but now I'm thinking you're about to kill everybody.
And that actor, Vic Polizos? Pilios?
I'd say
I'm sorry,
Polizos.
dude. Yeah. He's been in a lot of stuff, and all of them are actually good actors.
They all are, and it
Yeah.
makes me so angry that this movie did this to them.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
it's okay if you watch a movie and the acting's bad, but you've never seen any of the actors in anything, so you're just like, "Ah, first movie," or "They
yeah.
haven't done much, they just they don't know." But when you've seen these actors in other things and you're like, "I know you can do it."
Yeah.
Your director did this to you.
Yeah.
Your director said, "That's the take." And that hurts my heart for them.
Yeah, everything was like one take. It's
Yeah.
good. It's good.
I don't even think they told them they were rolling.
Put it in the can. We're going on. We're moving on. And then Jane suggests that they get out of there. They go back to
Mm.
her trailer
Yes.
where he cooks.
Yes.
But we get the Jane story that she went through a divorce. Mr. Warwick offered her a better paying office job under the, under the understanding that Mondays and Wednesdays were her special days or have sex with Mr. Warwick days.
Mm,
Mr. Warwick.
the ultimate sleazeball. You can tell he's a sleazeball from the very
Oh yeah.
beginning.
Yeah, and he does that part great. Like
Oh,
he didn't
100%.
nail his main accent, but all the
No.
other stuff he did.
He was super like I was like, I would not wanna be left alone with you. Not even a
No.
little bit. No.
No, neither the men that were there didn't want to
Yeah.
be left alone with them. Warwick explains to some workers that the business will be shut down for the 4th of July holiday. Those workers that belong to the union would be paid holiday pay. Those who were not union would be laid off for 1 week, unless they agree to be part of the cleanup detail and receive double pay for their efforts. 6 workers are chosen for the cleanup detail work. John Hall is one of them. Okay, first, this was pretty detailed for the first bit, and just like the movie, the plot goes offline. So basically, all this happened in great detail. Got to a third of the movie, and it's like, and it's just ended. It's just skipping all the things. So the secretary, which might I say, was so brilliantly and stereotypically cast and dressed,
Yes.
uh, she was awesome.
Yeah.
Just her presence was fantastic. Uh, Okay, so they missed a bit where she gave that thing to Ilona Margolis, Nordello, and told her to type it up for the long weekend cleaning crew and congratulations for making the cut.
Mhm.
She then becomes so pissed she takes an axe to Mr. Warwick's car. Bravo. The amount of upper body strength to be able to put that axe through the windshield on one blow, that was pretty.
Um, denting the hubcaps,
Oh, just
like, just taking it out, and I was like, "Yes,
so
girl, I feel your rage. I feel your rage."
yeah. Yeah, she's not just another pretty face. She's dangerous.
No.
Like firefighters couldn't even do that. So then Mr. Warwick, like he goes all pimp on her and just
Mhm.
grabs, and then John grabs Mr. Warwick just before he's about to hit Nordello and shakes his head not to do it. Mr. Warwick calms down a bit, tells everyone to get back to work. I love how mostly everyone just stood around just watching.
Yeah, everybody was perfectly comfortable with
Yeah.
this man losing his shit on this woman,
Yeah.
throwing her to the ground, picking her back up, and then just about to pimp slap her. Yeah, and everybody's like, "Okay, cool."
And I thought when she said, "I know you can't put me down there. I know things." I thought, well, they're gonna make some sort of reference about the mutant and it's actually now, but there was none of that. There was
There was no follow-up to that.
no, nothing at all.
She made
Maybe
that statement and then it disappeared into the ether and nobody followed up on it.
unless the director made a movie and they took it away from him and shaved 20 minutes off and edited it this way.
It's very possible,
They're like,
but
"You're
then they
trying to
should
tell
have
too
cut
much
out
of a
that
story."
line. Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, they were trying to justify this entire movie through the dialogue, and I feel like they failed.
Yeah. So now, yeah, everyone's just standing around, not one single phone recording live to Instagram or TikTok, nothing. Mr. Warwick then goes down to the cotton sorter where John is and thanks him in his weird loony boss slash villain way and offers him the overtime at double pay. Okay, now we get to the plot. Back to the plot. No, wait. The exterminator. Mr. Warwick is talking to the exterminator. Who says the next town over wants to sue someone for all the rats that showed up.
All the rats that swam down the stream.
Yeah, and the exterminator is like, and because he's like, someone's responsible, and he's like, well, the Mr. Bachman or whatever told him explicitly suck them out and send them down the river because he's
Yep.
too cheap to kill and expose of them. And then Mr. Warwick asked, "Well, I hope you have that in writing. Hope you have." Yeah, that was a horrible accent.
Wasn't it terrible?
Yeah,
So terrible, but then that was also where Mr. Warwick was like, "I hope you have that right," and the exterminator realized, "Well, I'm fucked.
yeah. Then he
Gonna
asked
have to
him,
keep
"But if
working."
you do this one thing, some about getting something out of the grave."
I must have missed that line.
Yeah, because he says,
I
"Well, we won't name you as the thing, but you have to do one thing for us." And now I can't remember what it was. Oh, god damn it!
See, here's the problem, because once you start rolling your eyes, your hearing
Yeah,
shuts off,
you're missing shit.
and that entire conversation made me roll my eyes so hard because I was like,
Yeah,
"This is like evil villain, like, rubbing your hands together and in dastardly ways," and I was like, "Come on, guys. It's just a little soap opera
yeah,
extra."
because now and then the exterminator dies in a freak accident. He goes in the
Mm,
graveyard. He hears his dog running off into some mausoleum and then yelping. I suspect the giant bat ate it.
probably.
Then he goes looking for his dog. Then it gets creepy. He's creeped out and he's like, what did he say? Ain't no job worth this. And then
Mhm.
he hears something and he's like, ain't no dog worth this. And then he slipped on a coffin and it crushes his skull.
Yes. That was I will say I cringed at that because I was
Yeah,
like,
going down
"That's"
the
yeah,
rock.
it's like a
Yeah.
concrete coffin
Yeah.
because
And
it's like the external coffin, like, from mausoleums, crushes him up against a wall,
yeah.
and then it starts falling, he starts falling, and
And
it's
his
just like
arm and leg is trying to,
I'm
yeah,
like,
that
your
was
head is literally being crushed and dragged." I'm like, "Ugh."
because I did mark, now, albeit a cool death scene, a total
Mm.
waste. Like Brad Dourif's
Oh,
character could have had a scene stealing encounter with this giant rat bat.
100%.
And it would have been awesome. Just with his conversation with John at the beginning about that whole Vietnam, and he just
Yeah.
went into this
This would have
weird
been his
story.
Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and
And they
he
wasted it.
never he wasted it.
Yeah.
Just
The
crushed his head with a
one-liners, the
coffin.
battle. Yeah. All right, now we get back to the plot outline. One night, John Hall finds a trap door leading down further under the. Nope. Okay. Okay, the plot's off. John, Jane, Brogan, Carmichael, and Ibston are the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
Carmichael was the black guy, right?
Yes.
And he got hired after the one guy got eaten by the bat because he's like, "What happened to the
Yes.
other guy?" And he says in his bad Maine accent, "He didn't work out." Whatever the fuck he said.
I think he said he
So
quit and he didn't come back or something. I
something
don't
like that, yeah. So now it starts. It starts with the cleaning crews just sit. 'Cause some of them are sitting around on break. The weirdo Brogan is blasting the rats with the hose.
Yeah,
Beach Boys are playing. Good times had by all.
of course, it was a party.
And this is where Ibston does his impression of Mr. Warwick.
Yes.
Yeah, and Mr. Warwick yells at him.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, I think the impression comes. Does it come before that?
Does it become before that?
Because I think that's how Brogan ends up on the cleanup crew.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Because he gets caught doing the impression. And then,
Okay, yeah.
what's his name? Warwick hits on Jane again? Nordello? Yeah,
Yes,
Jane.
that's
He
right.
hits
Yeah.
on Jane again. Then Jane's like, "You're gross."
Yeah,
And then that's
you're
it.
right. So now we see Brogan blasting rats.
Yeah.
We don't see Danson doing anything. Carmichael and Jane are going through papers. Ibston finds an old desk and asks John to help. The rats that were just all over his arm was gross.
So
Once
gross.
he put his hand up. One, I wouldn't put my arm in anything down there. But he blindly
No?
puts it in. They open it and it's just covered in rats. I don't think that's how rats work, but it was still gross looking.
It's still super gross. Also, the rats
Ugh.
probably would, if it had been closed for as long as it was supposed to have been closed, then the rats would have eaten each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know what that was.
Then Ibston has had enough and starts bitching like a baby. But if that was me, and just ran back to the hardware store.
Correct.
I got a lot of exercise being in this movie. But Mr. Warwick hears it and cans his sorry ass. So Ibston gets off easy,
Mm-hmm.
really. Then they go back to work, and then John finds a door going even further down.
Yeah.
The group of 6 cleaners and Warwick head down to investigate. Actually, it was 5 and Warwick because Ibston's gone. Sorry, I'm just the plots. Okay, after the stairs leading back up collapse and the 6 people realize they are trapped with a monster, they begin turning on each other trying to escape. One by one, the monster kills the group off until John. Okay, this missed a whole bunch. Fuck. Okay, Brogan is the first to go. He falls even further into the water. Like he they're down there. He collapses the
He
stairs.
falls into like a cavern thing.
Yeah. And it's like a big pool.
Yeah.
And a horrible death. Not as a wow, that's a cool horrible death. I mean, where did your $10 million
No.
go? This was not a good death. It was a horrible death scene. Like
Because he
something
kept
pulled
like just
him.
going underneath the water and then coming back
Yeah.
up bloodier.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I was like, but like not even wounded bloodier. Just like, you've got more blood. And then I think the last time he came up, it looked like he had scratches on his face.
Yes. And this would have been I thought when I was watching this would have been an amazing. You had this big pool of water to have the monster come out of that with its wings and claws
Yes.
to introduce it and freak everybody
Like,
out.
even just if it came out of the water and literally just the wings came out of the water and pulled him down.
Yeah. But no,
Great death.
nothing.
Nope,
Just
nothing.
no.
We got him
really,
bouncing.
yeah. And no one attempted to save Brogan.
No,
They're
no.
like, fuck it, and they all scattered.
But Warwick did take out his knife.
Yes, yeah, he did take out his knife. And that was
Yes.
probably realistic. As horror movies go, that was probably a realistic reaction of everyone just like, no. Like
Well,
we
all they
weren't
kept
they weren't
doing was,
related.
hold on. We'll help you up. We'll help you up. But nobody was moving to do anything.
No. Mr. Warwick, Carmichael, and Danson head into a tunnel, and Jane and John head, I don't know, into another tunnel.
I'm gonna say yes.
Then Carmichael sees a hole and thinks it leads outside and sticks his arm in it. That you
Mm,
never do that in a horror movie.
no,
That's just come on. That's so
no.
shame on you. And guess what? The fucker loses an arm.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, no one helps him. No, Mr. Warwick kind of pulled on his leg a bit.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
nobody got close.
no, once they
No,
saw his arm gone, yeah, that
they
was
were
it.
just like, "Oh no,
They bounced. See you there, man. You're on
it's
your
good
own.
knowing you."
And yeah, because he was calling for them to help.
Yeah,
Yeah, he should have known better. He should have known. He didn't stick around to help Brogan.
nobody stuck
Um,
around to help him.
now they didn't show the monster because he gets dragged off. I don't know how the monster got through that little hole, but he gets dragged up. But it was off camera. Like you see him being dragged off camera,
Yeah,
and again, you don't see the monster.
yeah.
Um, again, what did you do with $10 million?
I have no idea.
Jane and John, they go into the water, this water thing,
Yeah.
and there was a floating casket.
Yep.
Talk about convenient.
Uh-huh.
And it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like things were progressing the story, but in a really stupid way.
Yeah, no, it was
And like I said, up until they went down, I was fine with it being a shitty B fun, over dramatic movie. But this just got really dumb.
it just lost its purpose.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I feel like you don't know where you want this movie to go.
Yeah. Mr. Warwick and what's his name? Fucking cares at this point. The other guy. He has a complete meltdown. Like he
Yes.
saw this shit in Vietnam or something. Something triggered this guy. Because he was over the top, sitting in the corner, like
Well, because he had just fallen through the hole and he was like, help me out," because
yes.
the floor
Yeah.
broke through. And then work took a hot second to debate what he was gonna do.
Yeah.
And then he helped
And he
him
helped
out.
him.
And he, like, scuttled to the wall, and he was like, "I'm not going. Forget this. I'm not moving from this spot because 'cause we're all gonna die." And that was it. I was like,
Yeah. That's
"Valid."
a yeah. Uh Now, Mr. Warwick did try to get him to go, but
Yes.
yeah, this like you said, this guy's like, nope, staying right here.
Mhm.
I'm staying right here until I wake up, man.
Yep.
Jane and John are still playing Indiana Jones in the underground water thing.
Yep.
Mr. Warwick finally is like, fuck you, bitch, and leaves him. The giant mutant bat gets him from under the boards. No, oh no, he hears something and then he gets his lighter and then he looks and and so we get to see the monster
Yeah.
head.
But only part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, not the whole
Not the whole thing,
no.
because that would be ridiculous.
And then he's killed again off screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because Mr. Warwick, who seems to be going around in fucking circles at this point, goes back to the same spot and sees that guy's feet and the rat
Yeah.
tail or the bat's tail going down underneath.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you think we're just fucking confused, it's because we are fucking confused.
None of it fucking made sense.
No.
There was no rhyme or reason, no logic to how the second half of this movie progressed.
No, none.
It was just like a free for all. Nobody sat there and said, "Hey guys, so this is what the monster actually looks like. Here's what it can do."
Mm,
It was just like, "Sure, why not?"
yeah, like
I
you could
think
have had
that
this
was
thing
literally the
crawling up on the ceilings or along the
so
walls.
many things they could have done with this.
Even if you put a costume on a guy just to do the crawling part, it would have been
Please,
fine.
yes. You know what? Do like what is it? The first Jeepers Creepers? Just dress some man up. Just
Yeah,
give him the wings. Let him go nuts.
yeah, because that
This
movie was creepy.
that movie was so creepy. I'm like, this is just a load of like, and I know when we're trying to explain it to people, it don't make no goddamn sense. But that's because the movie don't make no goddamn sense. Like this is just because I'm sitting there and I was like, why are we here? What? What happened? Who? Oh, he's dead? How did he? Oh, we don't know how he died because he died off screen.
Yeah.
But we know the crazy mill bat rat monster did it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Warwick was okay because the plot doesn't have any of this stuff in it.
Mm,
He's running after he sees that, and I know that,
yep.
and he falls through, and he looks like he's about to land on his head, and he
Y-
lands in that big pile of bones.
Can we talk about when he was falling? And I swear to God,
I thought that was his death scene.
I was
I think
really
he was
hoping
gonna
for it
make it.
actually. I'm surprised he made it. But I was like, it looked off.
Like it
So
was
then I was
shot
like
in slow mo,
like the
but it
way it
was
was
done in
shot,
slow mo.
yeah. I don't know.
Like he
Or
went like
like
this.
they put a camera underneath him to film it, like where he was
Oh, maybe, yeah.
stationary. Like there was just something that wasn't something very unnatural about that scene.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it made me
you're
just
right.
go, I I'm not worried about him falling because I don't feel like he's falling. $10 million. Where'd it
But
go?
yeah, he fell very far and he landed in a pile of bones, which miraculously doesn't hurt him.
No,
Yeah,
no,
because a
because
lot of
I
those
mean,
look sharp.
but apparently they don't cut or stab.
Well,
They're just like, I mean, it's not like it's not like humanity used to make weapons out of bones. That
yeah,
wasn't a
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
right?
really. Jane and John come out of the water chute into this giant cavern, which you could say was the winged rat's home.
Sure.
But it had stairs going all the way up to the top.
Yep.
And not only that, you could see the whole mill from that opening, and it looked
Uh-huh.
huge. How did anyone miss that fucking hole in the ground? Like maybe it was the graveyard sinking. I'm like, that's a big hole, man.
But the graveyard didn't sink.
Oh yeah, no, it
The
didn't sink.
graveyard flooded because nothing
Flooded.
fell. It was just like just a little pond. And I'm very confused by this whole thing because I was like, where did this fucking thing come from?
Yeah, that giant cavern.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no graves fell. Yeah,
And nobody could figure out where it was.
yeah.
Nobody had any idea.
Now we get back to the plot that's actually written. Warwick is consumed with trying to conceal this event and also punish John Hall for standing up to his bullying. So he tries to kill John. Yeah, Jane and John were going to go out.
Mhm.
Warwick hand appeared out of the bones, and like I must say, Mr. Warwick takes his managerial responsibilities very seriously.
For reals.
Like,
I was like,
oh
is this really supposed to be his motivation?
yeah,
He doesn't want to get caught
yeah,
like releasing rats into the
like
world.
yeah. At what point does he give up? That's dedication, man. Like he's obviously the employee of the month every
I
month.
I've been a manager a few times. Never once has it ever occurred to me to kill people or let people die so that nobody knows I didn't wash the floor at night. Like, anywho,
That's why you were an employee of the month.
true story. True story.
So these two fight. Instead of getting the fuck out of there, because the mutant rat bat is still running around
Of
poorly,
course.
not in a
Mhm.
$10 million way, but it's still out there. Jane, being the dumb broad that she is, sorry, I have to say, steps in and gets stabbed and dies. Yeah, I can help myself. I forgot this happened, and actually, even though I was really perturbed at the last half of this movie, I was shocked and a little disappointed that Jane, probably the best character in the movie, died.
That was honestly, she was one of the few that actually had a personality, so that was nice, and I was very
Yeah,
disappointed for her that
she
that
had a
was her
moral
death scene.
compass.
Right?
She had a sense of humor.
I'm like, "You should
Yeah,
have lived."
yeah,
You
that's the one that should have lived.
Yes. John, I'm okay with him dying. I'm not mad that he lived, but I was like,
Yeah, he could
"Jane
have died.
should
I
have
would have rather. Yeah,
lived."
Jane should have lived.
But
Yeah.
it's also work was like, he's the one that stabbed her, and he didn't just, like, stab her and then everybody stumbles away. No, he kept driving,
Oh yeah, he that was a
like,
kill. That was
right
a
up
kill
I was like,
shot.
"You're
Yeah.
reaching for her heart."
Oh,
What?
he didn't want her to survive.
Is
He
it
wanted
just
her to
because
bleed
she did
out.
not want Mondays and Wednesdays
Yeah,
with you?
yeah. How dare you not mock me?
You misogynistic pig.
But yeah,
This
I was
was yeah.
super bummed out. She was probably my favorite character.
I wanted her to like, I thought she was gonna get stabbed. She fell down into the water puddle thing. I thought John was like literally gonna be like, oh, she's still breathing or something, and like throw her over his shoulder and like carry her
Right?
out.
He
But no,
barely checked to see if she was breathing. He was
no, he
gone.
just kind of looked at her. He looked at her and he was, well, I don't think she's alive. Let's go.
Yeah, I had a mouthful of
And he
popcorn.
walked
I'm like,
away.
what the fuck? I have to watch this fucking movie and you killed the best character.
I was like, that is the character that should have walked out of there with John alive
Yeah,
and well.
yeah.
But no.
Warwick confronts the monster and dies during the ensuing fight. Yeah, instead of going up the
Yes.
fucking stairs and escaping, he goes back into the tunnels.
Uh-huh.
Like, and then sees the mutant and goes all fucking Rambo on it and loses spectacularly.
Yes.
But I will say this, the kicking, scratching, and biting, and I'm not talking about the monster. Mr. Warwick was kicking, scratching, stabbing, and biting
Yeah.
the mutant.
Okay, biting ew. But
But that's a warrior.
yeah,
If he was gonna die, but that bat was gonna
he
earn it.
was fighting valiantly. I was
For
not
the
sad about his
sleazy
death though.
fucking guy that he was,
Yeah.
he fought great.
He
Oh
wanted to
yeah,
live. He
yeah.
wanted to live.
Then he should have went up the fucking stairs.
Don't look into the logic of this.
No, no.
There is none.
John scrambles back up to the basement because he sees this happen.
Yeah.
Of the building where the large industrial machine is. The monster follows him, attacks him there, where we see that monster is a very large bat. Yeah, because really, this is the first time you get to see the thing semi-whole.
Yeah.
And
You
not,
get enough pieces kind of put together.
yeah, especially when Warwick was fighting
Yeah.
and the wings were wrapped around
So
them.
you have like a general idea, but you can't get a clear picture or a clear image of what this monster is.
Yeah. The large bat gets its tail caught in the industrial machine, and John turns it on. We watch as the bat being dragged into the slaughtered and is slaughtered by the machine. John sighs in relief. The last scene shows that the textile mill is now under new management. That was it took a long time for that thing to get cut. You think it would have moved away from that, or I don't know. The
Yep.
last half of this movie,
Well,
fucking
especially because like I think it's the tail, maybe it's the arm, I don't know. Whatever body part of the monster got into, it didn't get stuck in there. It quietly wrapped around one
yeah.
of the little pieces that, and I was like, why?
And that looked nothing like an actual appendage of an animal.
No,
And that's
well,
not the way it would move around.
it almost looked kind of not maybe slug-like,
Yeah.
but not. And then like if a slug and the trunk of an elephant had a baby,
Yeah.
that's what that would be. And I still don't know where on the monster's body that thing was.
No. Could have been his penis for all I knew.
True story. True story.
It would have made the movie better.
Would have made about as much sense as the movie already made.
All right. So the credits roll.
And we all say, hallelujah, praise Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. So your score. Take a minute. Think about it.
No. I'm good. All right. Going in with a 3.6.
A 3.6.
Now, here's why. The beginning was okay.
Mhm.
And you got flashes of like why you liked it. There is a lot of nostalgia because it is very much like a creature feature. It is very much a B-movie horror, and it settles into that vibe. But then it goes so far off the rails, so hard, that you're just like, the fuck? So like I have little moments where I'm like, okay, like it wasn't all bad. But God, that was shitty.
That was pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Okay, I wrote mine down. This movie was a great midnight B horror movie. Like I said, right up until they went under the mill. Then the stupidity, the lack of any evidence of $10 million, which would have served the ending well if they used it. The mind-boggling death scenes, the off-camera death scenes. Why would Mr. Warwick take on the bat? I could see if he was the actual owner, a scene showing that he knew the bat was down there and killing his employees, and that he snaps under the pressure or the guilt. But he was being paid by a company. Probably got what, 3 weeks vacation back in 1990?
Yep.
And you're taking on a mutant rat bat in some nonsensical last stand. Killing off Jane was stupid for this movie. Like,
Yep.
made no sense. There was no dramatic. This movie was not that type of movie.
No.
She had. It would have been a little better if she lived. That guy, the guy who had the fucking meltdown, that
Yes.
was stupid. Brogan's death was stupid and wasted. Carmichael's death was the only one that made sense, sort of. But you wanted the exterminator death to be something better. And Ipston, who got fired, could have stuck around for some more cannon fodder. A great start that couldn't stick the landing. Couldn't stick the landing if it had $10 million back in 1990. Well, wait, it did. But with some minor tweaks to the script and a bit tighter directing and maybe keeping an eye on the fucking accountant, this could have been a great B horror movie. I had to go back and look at Leprechaun because as disappointed as I was with this turd of a film, I'd watch it 3 or 4 times in a row before I put Leprechaun back on. That doesn't change my feelings for you, Jennifer Aniston. I gave Leprechaun a 3, so I gave this movie a 4. Awful, but I could see a few spots where a younger me would have liked it.
Yeah.
4. Yeah.
I mean,
It was bad. It was
same.
awful. Yeah.
It was awful, and I think it was just the bewilderment
Yeah.
while watching the second half, because I'm like, none of this makes sense. I
No.
don't know who wrote the second half of this, because it doesn't, like, did anybody plot any of this? Or
Yeah,
did you
'cause
just, like, freeball it? Like, I don't understand.
you could have followed Stephen King's short story.
This whole thing, I was just like, "Why would you do this? Why?" I know Stephen King didn't write a shitty story.
No.
What? Why? Now I wanna read the short story because I haven't.
And I could
Um
have forgiven the effects if the ending made more sense. If
Mhm.
they actually made it, it would have been fine. I would have been fine with
Yep.
it. I
It's
could have
just
forgiven the off the rails if the effects were amazing. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
no, I
No.
wouldn't have
No,
forgiven the off the rails.
yeah,
I would have
yeah.
been gentler about the
Yeah,
off the rails.
maybe give it a 5.
Yeah, like, I'd be like, I'd watch it again because it looked cool,
Yeah.
but it didn't make any sense. But, like, yeah, no. I'm so mad about
Um
this.
So now we're gonna go to skip it, stream it, buy it, or rent it. I don't think we should do if you didn't like it back then. Because if you didn't like it back then, you're not gonna
You
like any fucking movie that we're doing, and you're definitely not gonna like this movie. But if you remember liking this movie, what would you say? Stream it, skip it, buy it, rent it.
stream it on something you're already like, on a service that you already have. Don't pay for this.
No.
Um, but I think it's just as a one-time rewatch.
Yeah.
Because you know what? If you liked it when you were younger and you remember it fondly, I say watch it as an adult so that you can realize that sometimes as kids you believe in things that aren't really true.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I stream it. And
Yeah.
you might want to skip it and
Well, I
hold on to
mean,
those.
because here's the thing, you have a good solid B movie for like the first half.
Yeah.
It's a good build up, it's good, and then after that, it just gets ridiculous. But then that's when you create the drinking games for it.
Yeah.
Take a shot every time you see only a body part of the monster.
Yeah.
Done. Take a shot every time someone gets killed off screen.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a drink anytime Mr. Warwick does a proper Maine accent.
You're never gonna drink.
Yeah,
You're
you
gonna
don't
drink like
drink.
3 times through the entire. I like that. Just continuously sip your cocktail while Mr. Warwick's talking in a shitty Maine accent.
Yeah, if you remember liking this movie, stream it. Paramount Plus.
Mhm.
I wouldn't rent it. Don't
No.
rent it. If you've never seen it, Me personally, I would say don't. Unless you are like an avid Stephen King and you have to watch every one of his movies. But if not,
Avid Stephen King or even an avid, like, B horror movie
yeah,
fan, because it's a part of the catalog.
yeah, but there's so much more you can.
There's so much more, but you gotta see the bad with the good,
Yeah,
because then it makes the good even better.
yeah.
Because
So
pieces of shit like this are out there.
if you go watch it and you're like, "What the fuck? That's Anna's fault. I told you to skip it,
No,
and
I'm a
you
firm
should have
believer
listened."
I'm a firm believer that unless a movie is completely painful and pointless, you should watch it. Now, here's the thing, because this movie has a great setup for halfway, it gives you a good blueprint of what a B movie should be. Like, it's got good build,
Yep.
it gives you enough information and introduces the characters, but it gives you that sense of creepy and icky and that something ominous is coming. And then it just fucking
Yeah.
veered left and ran into a tree, and we don't know what the fuck happened.
Which brings me to the next point. Reboot. I would say, yeah, you could that like
Oh,
you just said it. That first half, perfect, and you could get the cheesiest acting and over
yeah.
dramatic. That's fine. Is a great idea for a great midnight horror
Oh,
B movie. Yeah,
100%. This
or
would make such a
nowadays
good
a great Netflix horror movie to watch with your
Netflix,
friends.
Amazon,
Yeah,
Paramount Plus.
yeah, yeah. You own the rights,
Do
so
yeah,
yeah,
redo it right
yeah,
so that it makes sense.
yeah. Put a little thought into that story for the second half.
You don't even need the full 10,000,000.
No,
You don't.
Evil Dead Rise came out this past weekend,
Yes.
and they did that, and I haven't seen it,
I haven't seen it yet either.
and it looks amazing.
Mhm.
They did that for 19 million today.
Oh, impressive.
Yeah, so you could take 10 million, even less than that.
Oh,
You could
yeah.
make this movie with the rats and just one mutant thing.
Oh, yeah.
You could do this movie for a lot less.
100%.
All right. Well, thank you for watching the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Join us
Mhm.
next week.
Congratulations. You just had one of your childhood movie memories vindicated. Or they just eviscerated it. I don't know. This is a generic one-size-fits-all type of ending to the podcast. So thank you for listening, and please join Anna and Jimmy next time for another episode of the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. If you dare to go back and watch that movie you remember liking,